For example, the other day, I finally reached the number of 300 movies that I watched this year, and I was sitting there and being like, how many of those films are actually wasted time?
Kids born in 2000 are teenagers now.
No, I won't. I don't
Teenagers!
believe it. No.
I'm gonna be sick.
Well, at least we're not fucking idiots.
We're so old!
No! God, please, no! No!
Welcome back to Torn Apart, and today we're doing something quite fun, something that we do once a year for the past 3 years, I think. We're talking about the worst movies of the year because, yes, if you probably subscribe to this channel, you know that I love hating on films, especially if they deserve it.
Are you telling me this clown is a level 4 naughty lister? A level 4 naughty lister? Oh, is that funny too?
And this is mostly to do not because I'm a masochistic weirdo, but because I like not to make you waste your time, because I hate wasting my own time. As every single year, I actually have some really cool and interesting categories for you today. They kind of remind me of the Razzies. And this year, I've actually watched quite a lot of bad films. Like, I've watched so many bad films that actually ranking them and putting them together was actually quite tough. And this is also why this year we're starting with the beautiful rating of 2 stars over 5, and we're gonna be starting with a movie that really made me angry, mostly because I'm a huge Hellboy fan, and I'm talking about Hellboy the Crooked Man.
Did I jump scare you? Yeah, I bet I did. You coward. You make me sick. Your weakness is pathetic.
Which has a budget of $20 million, and this is really important because it kind of looks like it was made by the Sci-Fi Channel. Just to give you an idea, what can we do with that amount of budget? So I made up a list of other films that have been made for even less money. Things like Get Out, Jordan Peele's movie, which was made for $4.5 million, Donnie Darko, which was made for, once again, $4.5 million, So, which was made for 1.2, and even Split, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, which is starring James McAvoy, at the peak of his career, was made for $9 million. So this is 100% a money laundering scheme, allegedly, because I'm not really allowed to say that on the internet. And honestly, as a huge fan of Hellboy, this was disgusting. And there is potential, mostly because it's a story written by Mike Mignola. You can really tell that when it comes to the cinematography, there are certain things that actually work within this film. But at the end of the day, it kind of looks like a really long episode of TV, and this shouldn't exist. Like, the Hellboy property, the Hellboy IP is incredible. It has so much potential, and it's insane that we've gotten from the R-rated version that came out a couple of years ago, which was disgusting, to this, and all of those are linked to the most beautiful movies made by Guillermo del Toro. This honestly pisses me off. Like, this movie pissed me off mostly because it was such a mediocre attempt at recapturing the magic. The performances are also really bad. Honestly, like, I could talk a lot about this film. There is not that much to say about Greedy People, but I think it should be illegal to make straight-to-DVD movies in 2024. And I'm not against fun, but I am against mediocrity and wasting time just in general. 2.5 stars. You're welcome and goodbye. But we need to move forward, and since we're talking about performances, let's talk about this famous and fun category, which is called the worst male performance of 2024. And the nominees are Jeremy Irons in The Beekeeper, Tahar Rahim in Madame Web, Nathan Zellner as the Alpha in Sasquatch Sunset, Kevin Hart in both Lift and Borderlands, Dan Stevens in Cuckoo, Jordi Mola in Agro Drift, and Jack Casey in Hellboy the Crooked Man. And the winner is Tahar Rahim from Madame Web. Congratulations.
In the future, I've become much more. In the future, that will destroy me and everything I've built. Those girls cannot exist.
Honestly, he's a really good actor. Probably at the peak of his career at the end of the day, especially since this year he was starring in a really famous movie called Monsieur Aznavour. So I'm sitting here being like, congratulations, you're being in a really excellent movie and in the worst movie of the year, both in the same year. You deserve this award, without a doubt. And then we took down 0.5 star. Let's get into even more bad movies, right? How can I categorize them? As in, 2 was maybe mediocre, and then as soon as we get to 1.5, it's honestly bad. Like honestly, no one will find this fun. And let's start by talking about Under Paris, which is yet another horror movie. It's directed by a really good director called Xavier Jean. He's made quite a lot of genre horror movies, but since it's on Netflix, wow, do I have quite a lot of things to say about why I hate this film. And it's really funny because you could really feel that he was trying to follow the steps of Alexandre Aja when he made his Piranha 3D movie, but almost completely forgot that these types of movies need to be extremely dumb and focus on action and emotion. But to be honest, just the fact that Under Paris makes me rejoice when activists die because they're incredibly dumb and badly written, and they also side with the cops, it makes me angry. Like honestly, if they made this film as counter-programming for the Olympic Games, I would have expected Jean to side with the people and not with the government and the authorities. Do I have to say more? I don't think so. The next 1.5 star goes to Agro Drift, which is Harmony Korine's new movie. And here, maybe I'm gonna say something controversial, mostly because these lists of bad movies very often tend to go to movies which are blockbusters or movies with good actors and really bad direction. But here we've got a really good indie/art house director who has made just the most despicable and boring and kind of useless movie that I've ever seen. So this, even from an artistic perspective, it's just a really bad movie. He basically shot this movie through like infrared technology, but that's not even the problem, because you could definitely make something experimental and make it also fun. If you know Gaspard Noé, for example, he's a director who makes really weird movies, but he still manages to make them fun, even though they maybe are anxiety inducing. This film here, the dialogues, the soundtrack, even the way that it's edited as well, and I'm pretty sure it was starring also like a lot of sex worker, and I'm saying this mostly because the performances were really bad. So I'm sitting there being like, what is the point? As in, Korine wanted to say something about the Hollywood industry, being like, look what I'm allowed to do, look what I managed to do, I can make the most disgusting movie, the most unwatchable movie ever, and it's still worth something. And I'm sitting there being like, is it actually worth something? I honestly really don't think so. And now let's go back to our categories, right? Because if we talk about male performances, we have to talk about female performances as well. So let's have a look at the nominees for this year. And we have Sydney Sweeney in Anyone But You, we have Dakota Johnson in Madame Web, we have Jennifer Lopez in Atlas, we have Joe King in Uglies, we have Riley Keough as the female in Sasquatch Sunset, and we have FKA Twigs in The Crow. And the winner is Joey King for The Uglies. Congratulations.
Hey, it's a great costume.
Thanks.
Yeah, except the safari party is actually down on the square.
And I decided to give this award to her mostly because she's not really been in a lot of good movies. She's been in a lot of mediocre movies, in a lot of like teen dramedies as well. And I'm sitting there being like, this is yet another disappointment coming from her. And I'm sitting there being like, why do I keep watching movies that she's starring in if I know that she's always gonna be bad in every single one of them? And I'm not saying she's a bad actress. I'm just saying that the roles that she picks are not really doing anything good for her. And since we're talking about her, how about we talk about her movie, The Uglies, right? Which is without a doubt one of the most boring movies ever. This kind of brought me back to, not even to Maze Runner, but to Divergent, without a doubt. This movie has a Divergent filter on it, as in you could tell that it was almost like shot 10 years ago and someone took it out of the vault, maybe because they thought that teen dystopian / young adult novels would be famous again. But no, they're not. It is the weirdest concept ever about plastic surgery. It's kind of like The Substance, but they turn it into a joke where the people who get their surgery, they become like their yassified versions of themselves. And honestly, like, this movie will be such a fun movie to hate watch with your friends because it's so stupid.
I caught the ugly!
It has the worst things that you could imagine when it comes to young adult novels, just in general. It has some of the most mediocre performances ever. There is always that A-list actor who is playing like the bad guy, and there is one in this movie as well. And honestly, even when you look at the messages / themes that this is working with, I'm kind of tired of people being like, oh, we want to create a new society, so we have to go to war with the other one. Technically, no. If you're a rebel, if you're living underground, why don't you just create a new society? That's it. You don't have to fight with anyone. You don't have to convince them them to not go through the procedure, not to become like pretty. Just live your life and leave them alone. I don't know how people could actually enjoy this. Are there people who enjoyed this? Can you let me know in the comments? And since I mentioned it before, let's talk about Anyone But You as well, because I think it's definitely worth a mention. So the movies that made me really angry, it's very often the really predictable, mediocre horror movies, or that for romantic comedies. Oh, this got 1 star for me, so we've gone even deeper and deeper under a new layer of shit here. The funny thing about this movie is that it's kind of like the Uglies. It feels like it was shot 20 years ago and it's resurfacing all of the sudden out of nowhere. And I'm pretty sure that's probably why a lot of people found it charming, because this feels out of time. Like, the only good thing about it is probably it has a very cute like lesbian wedding going on, and the behind the scenes footage at the end, that's literally why I got it 1 star. That's why I got my star. My star goes to that at the end of the day. Nothing else is worth looking at in this movie. It stars some of the worst cliches ever. For example, the fact that Sydney Sweeney, the only way they found for her to be relatable, they just made her clumsy, which is a thing that happened for women in romantic comedies apparently. Also, everyone is so filthy rich that it just bothers me. I don't want to watch romantic comedies like this anymore. This is so 2008.
Just
And now I have 2 categories which are always very fun and that I mention every single year. One of them is called the most wasted potential, and the other one is the most disappointed movie of the year. These are not necessarily really bad movies. They could even have a little bit of a higher score than what I mentioned before, and they definitely do now that I think about it. But my pick for the wasted potential of this year will go to Drive Away Dolls, which is a movie that is directed by Ethan Coen, so one of the 2 Coen brothers. It's starring Margaret Qualley as well. Such an interesting concept, but dude, Ethan, you do not get lesbians. Literally, there's something really important in this film where they're being pursued by the bad guys, and the bad guys manage to find them mostly because other lesbians, and especially the ex-girlfriend of one of the main characters, keeps ratting her out. And this is something that would never happen. Like, do you not know anything about the LGBT community? And this is what like really bugged me about this film. It really feels like it was trying to do something modern and contemporary and kind of like subversive, but at the same time it didn't really feel genuine. Like, it really felt like Ethan Coen was kind of like trying to speak with someone else's voice and not his own. And it happens quite often with directors when they're trying to say something that like doesn't belong to them, the kind of story that they could never tell at the end of the day. If you think about another really good film, for example, that is called Love Lies Bleeding, Rose Glass would be a really good director to do a story like Drive Away Dolls. She would make it a lot darker, but at least she gets it. And my most disappointing film is probably gonna anger quite a lot of you, and I have a review for this film, so I go quite deeply into why I think this is a really bad movie and it's yet another Marvelized thing. Content, basically. This is just content for Disney Plus, content for selling 4K DVDs and for selling just Marvel as a brand. I'm talking about Deadpool and Wolverine.
And you kiss your mother with that mouth?
Which for me was just a very disappointing film, a not very ambitious film, and something that could have been so much better. And we kind of like set our expectations for it, mostly because there were a lot of cameos, and cameos are always gonna satisfy someone. They're always gonna make someone happy, kind of because they tickle that nostalgic like organ that we all have within our body, and we don't really know how to respond to that in an objective way. But this is me responding to Deadpool and Wolverine in an objective way. I think it's a very disappointing film, and it's sad that it's the 3rd movie in the Deadpool trilogy, because I always felt that they could do better. They could do better when it comes to the storytelling, they could do better when it comes to being like subversive, instead of being just yet another Marvel product that is kind of trying to make everyone happy. This is what I felt with this movie.
We finally have some time away from everyone here together. What are you doing? Aurora, you need to live a little.
You said that you wanted to do yoga. This doesn't look like yoga to me.
It looks a lot like swimming.
You ever accidentally masturbate to young pictures of your mom?
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
And then we head into another category which is quite fun and that I introduced I think last year, because when I do my Oscars video I talk about the best posters, but there is something that is even more important than best posters. It's the worst posters. So let's have a look at the worst posters of 2024, and we have here a French movie which is called Chien et Chat, which looks abysmal and I still have no idea how this movie came out. Then we have the poster for Madame Web. We also have the poster of Deadpool and Wolverine, which for me I think they really didn't do anything quite creative with them, especially if you look at what they did with Deadpool 2 and Deadpool 1 as well. This is the classic like thing on white background that I really don't like and feels very uninspired. We've got the Uglies, of course, which looks like direct to DVD poster. We've got the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which kind of resembles every single kind of like movie with A-list stars. We've got, unfortunately for the movie, which is a really good movie, the Gladiator 2, because it's probably one of the weirdest marketing campaigns ever. The posters are really bad and there is nothing creative about it. It feels like they just asked them to take pictures from the trailer and to turn them into posters because they were running out of time or something. And then we have Venom: The Last Dance. I mean, do I need to say anything? Just look at it. It's exactly what we don't like about posters and graphic design. And the winner is Chien et Chat. Congratulations. This will haunt me until the end of time. Why does this movie exist and why does it need to have a poster that is as hauntingly beautiful as this one here? The next movie I'm gonna be ranting about, it's a horror movie. It's called Never Let Go, and I had my hopes up for this one because it's a new Alexandre Aja movie and I gave it 1 star. How do you keep messing things up so often, Alexandre Aja? I really don't get it, because he has quite a grasp of the horror cliche. And here we have a movie that is so, well, pathetic, first of all, because it's not scary at all. It also relies on that specific thing that we hate about horror movies, where people are kind of like lying to each other. There are a lot of like dream sequences and you never know exactly what's going on. It's kind of like a bad Shyamalan movie. That is the perfect way of summing it up. Never Let Go is exactly a bad Shyamalan movie and it doesn't deserve your time. And now, something even more important. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands, I'm just very expressive. You know, every single year I talk about how remakes, sequels, franchise things tend to make up these lists and these videos way more often. So let's make fun of that even more, and I came up with this category which is called the worst sequel slash sidequel slash requel slash remake of 2024. And here we've got quite a lot of them, and I actually looking at the script right now and I didn't choose a winner, so I will have to improvise and do it on the spot. We have The Strangers Chapter 1, Godzilla X Kong New Empire, Venom: The Last Dance, Hellboy the Crooked Man, Salem's Law, Joker Folie à Deux, and Mean Girls the Musical. And I guess I'm gonna say that the winner is Joker Folie à Deux. There are a lot of people who actually complimented Todd Phillips for making like almost like a big like fuck you to incels and everyone who liked this movie. Quentin Tarantino even said that Todd Phillips almost became the Joker himself by making this movie using so much money that was given to them by Hollywood. But think of it in a different way. This movie didn't make a lot of money, and the Hollywood execs slash the producers are looking at this movie being like, you know what, we're not gonna give this amount of creative freedom to the future generations of directors anymore, especially when it comes to these kind of big IPs. So because of Todd Phillips and because he made this weird experimental thing with this story, maybe we'll get a lot of Borderlands in the future. A lot of very stupid, very safe comic book movies or sequels or remakes, or it doesn't really matter. So that's why I think it definitely deserves this award, because it will make life much harder for people who have great ideas, great reinterpretations of classic stories. And now we're getting into the 0.5 out of 5 category. This is the absolute worst of the year. This is the movie that really pissed me off. There are 2 movies like this. One is called Saving Bikini Bottom, and this movie almost like gives me depression. Because I was preparing a video about the SpongeBob movies and how they're all perfect, they're all very interesting, and they all try so many different things when it comes to the animation. The stories are classic SpongeBob stories, of course. There is nothing revolutionary. There is so much fun. There is so much fun, and this movie broke the curse. Like, this movie destroyed everything.
No, 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 no. Wait, 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 wait. Wait, 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 wait.
This is like, honestly, probably if you put it up there with like the worst episodes of SpongeBob, this will still be right underneath, at the very bottom. This is laying the foundations of what a bad SpongeBob story is supposed to be. Do not watch it, it's a real shame, and I don't know how it got this bad. Mostly because it seems like it has the same kind of creative style as all the other SpongeBob movies. So honestly, I really do not get it. If you know why this is bad, let me know down in the comments. Maybe you have a theory. And since we were talking about execs before, why don't we talk about a fun category which I called the worst human beings of the year, so of 2024. I like to do this mostly because there are a lot of like news on Twitter or even on different like websites, articles, YouTube videos, it doesn't really matter. Things that kind of like shape the year. And I'm talking mostly about films and TV, of course. I'm not talking like about human beings like committing atrocities, because we would never end. This video would never end if we just had to list all of the shitty things that Elon Musk does, for example. Or Trump, or whoever you want, Kim Jong-un as well. We would be here forever. So no, this is specifically about the Hollywood industry. Let's have a look at the list. So the nominees for worst human beings of the year are the Sony execs for scamming us into watching Madame Web, the Sony execs for naming Venom 3 The Last Dance. You can really tell here that I have something about Venom. I don't know what it is, but I really hate the Venom franchise. Mostly because the next one is the Sony execs for releasing Kraven the Hunter, and as this video is coming out, I haven't even seen it. I know it's gonna be bad. Also, I can nominate once again Sony for trying to make apparently a Sinister Six movie, because apparently they're working on it again with Morbius, Madame Web, Kraven, maybe even Venom. Honestly, like, Jesus fucking Christ, these people are so fucking weird.
I'm not sure how I got here. Has to do with Spider-Man, I think.
The marketing team behind Garfield, who hijacked every single thing that went viral to promote their movie. And I actually have a collection of posters here like Dune, they did Deadpool, they did Fall Guy, they even did the Superman reveal pic, you know, the one with the boots. And of course they also did Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This was like a meme at the beginning, so it was funny when they did it maybe for 2 films, but after a while you could tell that you can't do it with every single film. You can't like hijack every single one of these marketing campaigns and like try to force people into watching Garfield. And then we have Francis Ford Coppola for saying that he sexually harassed young women on set of Megalopolis to get them in the mood. Yeah, it's the last one. It's Francis Ford Coppola for being a fucking weirdo, especially in the movie that is probably gonna be his last movie ever. Can you imagine? You're making your last movie and you become a weirdo? Maybe he's always been a weirdo, but I'm saying like people are gonna remember this stuff. They're not gonna remember whether the film is good or not. Men are fucking weird. And now we're talking about the final movie of this year. Bad movie, of course.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
It's Madame Web, of course. Do I have to say it? Like, Madame Web, officially, personally anyways, subjectively, objectively, the worst movie that I've ever seen. Honestly, I wanted to boycott it so hard. And then I was like, I don't know, maybe if you drink enough wine, there will be something enjoyable about it, but no. And to be honest, like, I really started like to identify with Dakota Johnson and how she's like a mood in this film, because fuck these girls, fuck this villain, fuck everyone. And I wish she could just go back to her cat and live her normal life. I mean, people were literally not exaggerating. This might be one of the worst superhero movies ever made, and it's not even that it's badly written. You can't even tell what it's trying to do, because it's badly shot, it's incredibly badly edited, it's a B movie masquerading as a theater-worthy experience. And I think as a society we have to rearrange our expectations here, because even inept movies like Suicide Squad, Batman and Robin, or even Venom add some sort of style or reason to exist. They kind of committed to their own sense of idiocy, but this really feels like a scam. And when you're watching it, you feel like you're being betrayed by life. I don't know. Like, honestly, maybe I'm getting too passionate about these kind of very stupid comic book movies.
Can you name the 3 Spider-Man Tom Holland movies?
It was at this moment that he knew.
Yeah.
Should I just go on faith?
Yeah. Oh. Spider-Man, here he comes.
Here he comes, that's yeah.
number 1.
Yep.
Spider-Man, and he's back. And the other one, the last one is the Goblet of Spider-Man.
Need a vacation.
Harry, Spider-Man, and the Goblet of Man.
And let's head to our final category of the day, and it's gonna be the worst TV shows of 2024. It's self-explanatory. I hate wasting time, and I hate even more when I'm wasting time on TV shows, because TV shows are so long. They're so long, they take up so much time in your life. Personally, I watch, for example, 1 or 2 episodes per day, very often when I'm eating, so it takes up like a week of my life sometimes to watch a shitty show, and this has to stop. So the nominees are The Acolyte, Spiderwick Chronicles, Velma Season 2, Good Times, and Rick and Morty, the anime. And I will probably give it to Velma Season 2 because everyone unanimously hated the first season. There is no reason for this other season to exist. This is the perfect moment for HBO/Max, whatever, to cancel the series and be like, no one likes it, let's not play on the rage bait and actually release it. They didn't do that. Netflix does it all the time. When you have something that is actually bad and no one wants to see, why don't you do it? Fucking weirdos. That's why you don't do it. Of course, this video doesn't have to be 10 hours long, so I decided to give you some honorable mentions. So some films that I hated as well but didn't have the time to talk about in this video, and I would love for you to also name your most hated movies of the year, whether they are indie films or Hollywood blockbusters or those kind of weird like Spanish or Swedish film that you watch only in your own countries. Let me know, I'll be curious to know. But the honorable mentions for this year are Megamind and the Doom Syndicate, Imaginary, The Idea of You, Rebel Moon director Scott, Argyle, Harold and the Purple Crayon, The Crow, Afraid, Borderlands, The Front Room, Unfrosted, and The Watchers. And this is it. We finally closed yet another year of filmmaking, and I'm really looking forward for not the next video but the video right after, when we'll be talking about the actual good movies that came out this year. I'm honestly really looking forward to it because I love ranting, but I also love recommending things that you might actually enjoy. Having said that, if you like this video, as usual here at the bottom, I might actually be putting the previous episodes of my worst films series, because probably you're gonna enjoy them quite a lot as well, so you'll know what to avoid just in case no one has talked about those films in a long time as well. And here at the top, I'm gonna be telling you what I'm working on for the next video. I can tell you already, it's a weird one. It's a video that I shot with a friend of mine, and it's about the Barbie movies. Anyways, don't forget to smash that like button. Every single time that you do that, you make sure you support original filmmaking, especially if it's niche or independent.
Can I count on you?
For example, if you'd like a recommendation to end this video on a positive note, you should check out the documentary called The Remarkable Life of Ibelin, which is kind of fun but also really well made. Like, they actually animated like an entire kind of World of Warcraft story just by looking at all the archives of this guy who's been playing it for more than 10 years. It's a really sad story, it's very emotional, and also if you've been watching Arcane, this will heal you a little bit, because if you watch Arcane, if you play League of Legends, or if you've played toxic games just in general, this movie here will heal your trauma, and I feel like we all need a little bit of that once in a while in our lives. Having said that, I hope you had a good time. I'm Patrick, and this is Torn Apart.
Back in the 90s, I was in a very famous TV show.
I dressed for yoga. I'm not getting this stuff wet.
Take it off then. There's no one around for miles.
Did you really think this was gonna work?
What?
This whole thing that you're doing.
I don't know. Worth a try, isn't it?
I'm drowning! I'm Elfo!
Da 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 da